Have you ever thought about taking a day off Anki? Let's be honest, who hasn't? You've come to the right place today because in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 strategies that you can do to take a day off of Anki without it making much of an impact on your long-term goals or your short-term goals. Of course, with Anki, we always advocate for doing it every single day. That's how you use the program, how to best use the spaced repetition. But guess what? Life happens, and sometimes you just can't do Anki for a certain day, and that's okay. You shouldn't, beat yourself up about it, and you can use the strategies in this video to work your way around it. Like I said, I love to travel. I have my shades, my favorite traveling shirt on, and when I'm traveling a lot of times, there are certain days where it's just not feasible to do Anki. You have a lot of things to do that day, you have an early morning, and there's just not enough time to do 500 flashcards, and that's when you can take a day off. Or if you're proactive and you can do a different strategy I'm going to talk about today, you can actually do some of the cards ahead to plan for when you need to take some days off. So without further ado, let's get into those 3 strategies I'm talking about, and let's learn how to take a day off of Anki, because trust me, sometimes we all need it. So let's do it. Alright, so when it comes to postponing your cards, of course, something that happens a lot is they just don't do the cards, and then they roll over until the next day. And so of course, without any special tricks or add-ons, you can just double up the next day and just finish up the cards. And if you can do that, all power to you. My first year of medical school, I found myself doing that here and there, and it was totally manageable. But trust me, once you get to your second year or towards the end of your first year and you're juggling 25,000 cards on Anki, it's really hard to double up the next day, especially when those mature cards come back to haunt you from 5 months ago and it ends up taking so long. Like, you can't just drill through these cards because you actually have to think and reconnect those neurons to actually remember what the heck's going on, and that's where I think these strategies are really helpful. So the first thing we're going to talk about is actually how to do your cards in advance, because I think that I'm going to go through the methods I recommend first, and then the last one would just be how to straight up postpone it, and that's like the last worst case scenario, but if you have to do it, it's okay. So when let's say like this weekend you have plans, for example, tomorrow's Halloween and I have some plans with my friends and I don't want to do Anki, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to double up on my Anki cards today and get them done so I don't have to do them tomorrow. And so I recommend, if you're going to be missing something, or you have a vacation coming up and you want to take a few days off, try to work those cards in advance, and I'm going to show you exactly how I like to do it and how I think it doesn't really affect your long-term retention if you do it this way. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get into how to custom review, study, and do cards ahead of time. But specifically, we're going to be doing the mature cards ahead of time. And I think this way it lightens the load for other days so you can finish with other cards more quickly. And so why don't I go ahead and share my screen now? It'll make a lot more sense, I promise. So let's get into it. Alright everyone, welcome to my Anki. As you can see, I'm a studious student. I got all my reviews and everything done today, and I have no more cards due. And I wasn't joking, tomorrow is Halloween, I have 383 cards due, and I have no intention of doing those cards tomorrow. So that's why we created this video today, and I'm going to show you exactly what I think I'm going to do, and I'm going to actually review these cards ahead of time, because 390 was not that much. I've done, you see, an average of 506, and so I can do a few more just to lighten up my load tomorrow, and then get a couple more done in the morning, and then I'll be all done for the day. Or I just double up today and get them all done and not have to worry about it tomorrow. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm just helping you all with this video today. That's what I'm doing. So as you can see here, if you're wondering where I even got this heat map add-on, how I could see how many cards I have due in the future, my streaks, 115 days into step 1, just an update for all of you, make sure you check out my video on add-ons. I talk about how to get all these add-ons installed on your Anki and step-by-step instructions on how to do that. So I'll link that up in the corner and feel free to check that out. And so now I'm going to talk to you about how to do a custom study review session to study your cards ahead of time. And also, just a disclaimer, I do see that I have a streak of 446 days. It's pretty impressive, but I did do a lot of the strategies I'm going to teach you today throughout the summer. You can see this week here pretty much just took off the whole week. I'm pretty type A, so once I saw the streak, it's like I figured might as well keep it, so I would just like do a couple cards on my phone on these random days when I was on vacation or doing stuff with friends, and just to keep the streak alive. But really, those are pretty much just days off. But anyways, what you want to do first when you're making a custom study review session to review your cards ahead of time is to actually create the custom study session deck. So if some of you have done this before, you might already have a deck that's going to be blue font that says custom study session, but if you don't, I'm going to teach you exactly how to set that up. So find the deck you want to study ahead from. For me, most of my cards come from the Anki deck, so I'm going to press Anki. And as you can see, it says you have finished this deck for now, congratulations, blah blah blah. What you want to do is go down here and press custom study. So this is actually built into the Anki program. It's not an add-on or anything, so you don't have to worry about installing anything. So press custom study, and what are we going to do? We're going to review ahead, like I said. So it's a review ahead by 1 day. So you press OK, and now you're in a custom study session. So now I'm going to go back in the decks and show you what this looks like. You can see, like I said, the blue font, custom study session, and there's 314 cards due for my Anki deck tomorrow. So I have these other decks for question banks I'm doing, for incorrect things that I've gotten wrong, some anatomy cards, things like that. So basically all those other cards are the leftover 69, and so you can go back and do the same method and create custom study sessions for all these other decks too, like Q banks. I can press custom study, but right now I'm just going to show you one of the decks, which is the Anki deck, because that's what the bulk of the cards are from. So as you can see, you can look at tomorrow, and now if I do these cards ahead of time, I'll only have 69 cards due tomorrow because I literally move these cards ahead. But what I want to emphasize is that you don't want to just move all the cards ahead without thinking about what cards you're moving ahead, because think about cards that you might have just learned. You know how the interval begins is like 1 day, then 3 days, and 5 days. You could literally have learned a card today, and then if you're reviewing ahead, you didn't give your memory the time to actually learn the material and absorb it for 1 day. So you're kind of pushing that card another interval up, because you're probably going to get it right if you literally did that card today and now you're moving it a day ahead. And so you don't really want to mess with the cards that have a short interval. So what I recommend is only doing your mature cards, or cards that are greater than 15 or 21 day intervals, because at that point it's like doing a card 1 day ahead when it's already has an interval of 1 month or more really makes no difference. And especially for me, my cap is 5 months, so a lot of these 314 cards are going to be my mature 5-month cards, and so it literally will make no difference in my long-term memory and my goal for step 1 if I do these cards a day ahead or a day late, because the interval is literally 5 months, and a day here and a day there, it literally makes no difference, and it will just make your life way more convenient. So when you go in a custom study session, you'll have a few options here, and this is what we're going to make some adjustments in. So if you go on options, you're going to see what the filtering is doing. So you're looking within the deck Anki, which we did, and you're moving all cards that are due less than or equal to 1 day. So what's nice is if you actually want to do, let's say, Saturday and Sunday's cards, because you're not just doing something for Halloween, you're going somewhere for the weekend with friends and family, and you're going to be gone Saturday and Sunday. Then you can go ahead and do less than or equal to 2 days perhaps, and you can do 2 days worth of cards ahead of time, or you can stagger it. Like you can do this, let's say on Monday, and just slowly move in the cards into your weekly routine to clear out your weekend ahead of time. But right now I'm going to show you what I want to add to this, is that instead of just doing prop due less than or equal to 2 or 1 day, what I'm going to do is also add prop IVL for interval, and then I want to do any interval that's greater than or equal to 15. So that means that only the cards that have an interval of greater than or equal to 15 will be included, and so it won't include those younger cards that have a smaller interval, because I don't want to affect the memory and the learning in those cards specifically. And you also want to make sure you check reschedule cards based on my answers in this deck, because that means the cards you actually see in the custom study will be rescheduled as if you were seeing them the day they were due. If you don't press this, they'll all come back the next day, and you'll just be doing the cards twice for no reason, and you don't want to do that. You want to actually review the cards ahead and then send them away 20 days or 5 months or however it is, and actually do it as if you were seeing the cards the day they were actually due. So once I update the code here, I'm going to rebuild the deck, and you're going to see that from 314 it's actually going to be less cards, because now I'm taking out all the cards that have an interval of less than 15 and only including these more mature cards. So when I press rebuild, you can see now it's 230, and as you might have guessed, if you go back out to decks, the original 69 that were due on Saturday, it's now 153, because now those younger ones are being pushed for tomorrow. And so this is a way I like to, make adjustments, in that I can do an extra 230 cards today when I don't have as much things going on, and lighten up my load on Saturday when I do have a lot of plans. And I can do this by doing these extra 230 cards now, and then maybe getting up a little bit earlier and just getting the 153 done. Sometimes I like to do that because these cards are younger, it's better for the long-term memory, for short-term goals, things like that, but I may just end up postponing it completely, which I'll go over in some of the other later strategies. But this is the first strategy here. It's making a custom study session and making sure that you keep the interval greater than or equal to 15 or even greater than or equal to 20 if you want to make sure you really hone in on those younger, smaller interval cards. Right now, it's not going to do me any good because I'm trying to take tomorrow off, but let's say I knew this ahead of time, and on Monday when I did 431 cards, and Tuesday I did 431 cards, and Wednesday I did 423 cards, I could have just spaced these 230 cards out and done an additional like 40 or 50 a day instead of banging them out all in one sitting. And so these are just different things you can tweak based on your own schedule. I just want to give you all the tools to use and the understanding of how you can use these tools to adjust your studying. And so for example, let's say I'm trying to take Sunday off and Monday off for some random reasons. For the next 3 days I want to take off, and I want to start spacing out these cards now. What I can do is again go back to my custom study review session, go on options, and as you might have guessed it, I'm just going to tweak one thing and do less than or equal to 3 days, because that would include Monday, Sunday, and Saturday's cards, and I can start spacing these out. And so I'm going to rebuild it, and now it's going to go up way more. Yeah, so 689, and you're going to see what I did was literally take the cards away from Monday, Sunday, and Saturday, but I only took the cards with an interval greater than or equal to 15. And so now, let's say if I had more time besides just Friday night, let's say today was Monday or something, I can start working through these extra 689 cards slowly through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, until I get to Friday, so then I can take Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. You know, of course, I'm not going to do this now. I'm just showing you this as an example, but I hope that this strategy can help each of you adjust your Anki better, take some days off, and lighten the load on certain days. I know this is not necessarily taking a day off, as I mentioned in the title, but I promise you, keep watching. I will show you how to take a full day off by the end of the video, but this is one of the strategies I recommend, and I'm starting with the ones that I think will be better for your long-term memory, and then finally, worst case, we'll talk about how to just completely take the day off. So that was a custom study session. Now let's move on to the second way we can make adjustments on Anki. Okay, so the second method is actually very simple once you understand the first method, and it's really just, you know, I don't have time to do these 153 cards tomorrow. You know, I want to get them all done ahead of time, and as you might have guessed it, we're just going to tweak the custom study session a little bit in order to make sure you get all those cards done, and so that you can do no cards tomorrow. Isn't that great? You're going to do no cards tomorrow by studying ahead of time. So the second method, we're going to use a custom study session again, where we go on the options and just tweak it a little bit. And as you probably could have guessed it based on my explanation from before, we're just going to focus on Saturday, so we're going to move it to less than or equal to 1 again, and then we're just going to get rid of this line of code, the prop interval greater than or equal to 15, because you want to just do all the cards. And so I kind of showed you this before when I initially did the review ahead by 1 day, but I want to just emphasize that again. You have many different options that you can do using the custom study session and just making different tweaks to what we said here, adding different intervals, but my recommendation is, of course, the first option I said, just do the cards that have an interval, they're greater than or equal to 15, so don't really mess with those shorter interval cards that are more sensitive to your memory. But like I said, if you can't do that, then just go ahead and try to review everything ahead and take the whole day off. That's perfectly fine too. Here and there, it's not going to make that big of a difference, because again, even if the cards are young, remember you're studying for step 1 or a big exam that could be weeks away, or if it's step 1, it's months away, years away. So 1 day here and there, again, it's not going to make a huge difference. And just mentally too, having that time off and being able to make time for other things outside of, you know, Anki and medical school, it's going to make you feel a lot better and going to get you more focused for your exam in the first place. So it's okay to, you know, take these days off. Don't feel guilty about it. So I'm going to press rebuild now, and you'll see it's back to 314 cards. And I can do that ahead of time. And again, there are 69 cards here. It's just from these other decks, but I would also go ahead and postpone those cards or review them ahead as well for my other decks. If you want all the cards to go back to where they were, where the original decks were, and just, you know, reset it, or maybe I just did like 50 of these cards and I'm like, I don't know, I can't do it, I'm just gonna push it back and I'll just figure it out tomorrow. You can always just literally delete this deck and all the cards will go back to where they're supposed to go. So tomorrow, it's back to the 383 that we had before. So that's just a good tip you should know about custom study sessions. But now I'm going to go through and teach you how to install an add-on that I don't recommend this method, but I know at certain times you just have to do it. And it's going to be how to just postpone the cards without even reviewing them ahead. Just straight up move them back and shift everything back a day. And for this, we're going to need an add-on called Postpone, and I'm going to show you how to get that add-on now. Again, We don't recommend this when you're using Anki because you're literally just shifting all of the cards back by a full day. And you know, this could be a really slippery slope. You could start just doing that every weekend or doing it every other day, and then you're just moving your deck back a day, and then it ends up being a week or a month, and then that could in the long run actually affect you. If you end up postponing, let's say like 30 days, and that's a whole month's worth, you might not see some cards that were originally due. Like, let's say you take your exam, like you take step 1 in February, like when I'm taking it, and I postponed like 30 days, and I miss a question because there's a certain card that I was supposed to see 20 days ago, but because I moved everything back 30 days, I actually never saw it before my exam, which is kind of scary because I'm at that point where some of my cards do have an interval of 5 months, and 5 months is more than 115 days, so that's literally the last time I'm gonna see that card ever before, and like it's not gonna make a difference. I might as well just delete the card because this deck is like only for step 1, and so I'm never seeing that card again until after my test, and I'm not even gonna be using this Anki deck after step 1. So that's pretty scary and just something to think about when you're, you know, considering postponing. And you can see these light days on my deck. You know, I'm not perfect. I've probably postponed close to 30 days too, so we'll see what happens, but we can talk about strategies to help mitigate that another time. I'm just going to show you how to postpone those cards now, and with great power comes great responsibility. So go to add-ons, and it's called Postpone Cards Review. Let me pull up the link where you're going to install that, and again, like always, the link will be in the description, so it's easy to find for all of you. Okay, so here we are, Postpone Cards Review Anki add-on. So if you don't know how to install this, I'll show you now, but go ahead and watch my video on how to install Anki add-ons and the 10 best Anki add-ons, and you'll be an expert on how to install add-ons. But basically, you want to take this code here and you're going to paste it into your Anki program. So once you copy this, go back to Anki. In Anki, you're going to say get add-ons and just paste the code here and press OK. I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do that now, but once you do that, make sure you restart your Anki program because that's when the add-ons actually go into effect. Again, once you have the add-on installed, this one's actually super easy. I'll show you how to do it. Again, I have my 383 cards due tomorrow on Halloween. The predicament is the same. The way I approach it just might be different. And like I said, only on the worst case scenario when you just don't have time whatsoever, because this is the one trick that has the most detrimental effect on your long-term and short-term goals. Because if you do it once, it's fine. You do it a few times, a handful of times, again, it's going to be okay. But like I said, slippery slope. You saw what happened in the summer for me, so just be careful with it. But this one is the most detrimental because if you keep postponing, like I said, consistently, you could miss out on some key facts and important information. But that's neither here nor there. So go on settings on whichever deck you want to postpone, go down to postpone cards, and just press the number of days you want to postpone. And what's cool is you actually do negative days, subtract days. So I've been trying to do that here and there. Sometimes I know that I postponed maybe like 18 days and I have free time on one day and I have nothing else to do. I'm like, all right, I go -1 and just move everything up a day. And so that's just shifting my whole deck back another day and hopefully get closer to that 0 point from which I never have gotten this add-on before, but I know that's probably never going to happen. But anyways, if you want to move it back 1 day, it's just +1. Or if you want to move it back 2 days, it's just 2. So we're going to do 1 day and I'll show you what happens here. Anki will kind of just load for a while because it's literally shifting all of your cards back. And so give it a minute here and we'll see what happens in a sec. It always does this. It'll say like not responding. Okay, delay was been added. So now we go in tomorrow, and again, 67 cards or whatever, because it just moved back my on king deck and everything has been shifted now. So everything is moved back by a full day. Alright, so that's how you use the postpone add-on, and again, you could go and postpone every single deck you have. If you only have one deck, then you just postponed everything and you're good to go. Alright everyone, so that's the end of today's video. I hope you found it helpful. I know it's a little bit long, but I really hope that these methods can help you take a day off of Anki, especially when you need it. And so of course, let me recap. The first way I recommend is to of course do the Anki cards ahead of time, but only do the ones that have a greater interval of 15 or more, because then you're not affecting those shorter interval cards and you're not impairing your short-term memory as much. If you're not able to do that and you want to just take the whole day off the next day and do all the cards ahead, you can do the second method I talked about and just review all the cards ahead of time and have that whole day off. And both of these methods are great because you're not shifting your deck in any direction, you're not pushing the reviews back, you're just doing them ahead of time. So of course I had to start off with those two methods because that's the way I recommend the most, because it literally will not impact your short-term or long-term memory because you're doing the cards just one day ahead of time and then you're taking a day off and everything's okay. Alternatively, you can literally just not do the cards, let it stack up and do double or triple when you get back from vacation or whatever, but that's just like, sometimes it really sucks. Like, I've done 2-a-days before, I've never done 3-a-days, but I can only imagine how painful that would be. So hopefully these first two methods can help you ease up that load a little bit. And then finally, our third method we talked about was how to fully postpone your cards and literally just take a day off, no consequence. You don't need to double up or anything, but you are shifting all your cards back by one day. So keep that in mind, that if you keep doing that, you're going to be pushing your cards back, and that could affect your long-term memory if it's a continual thing. But of course, like I said, if it's just one day or a few days here and there, everything's going to be okay. So bottom line, I hope this helps enhance your studying. I hope it doesn't make things worse for you, but I hope that you could use these methods to help cater your studying to your own schedule and how you can live your life, still do the things that you love, and be a successful medical student or whichever type of student that you are and you're using Anki for. So have a wonderful day. If you found this helpful, smash that like button, drop a comment if you have any questions at all, and don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate it. Have a good one.